and shine. Coffee's brewing, feeling fine. News is out and on the air. Shizzy whiz nuts wild, but we don't care. Morning whiz and coffee. Talk the news, he's a tease. Laugh it off, we're on the go. Shizzy whiz nuts, start the show. Let's go. Get it, yeah, oh yeah. Headlines spinning in the breeze. Stupid jokes, he's such a tease. Sip the Java with a smile. Pants are off, but stay a while. Morning whiz and coffee. Talk the news, he's a tease. Laugh it off, we're on the go. Shizzy whiz, let's start the show. Let's go. Get it, yeah, oh yeah. Headlines spinning in the breeze. Stupid jokes, he's such a tease. Sip the Java, wear a smile. Pants are off, but stay a while. Morning whiz and coffee. Talk the news, he's a tease. Laugh it off, we're on the go. Shizzy whiz, let's start the show. Let's go. Get it, yeah, oh yeah. Serious is overrated. Every day we're caffeinated. Talk the town, but in a jest. Morning whiz is always best. Clock is ticking, time to run. Morning show's a load of fun. Grab your mug, don't spill a drop. Laugh your ass off till you pop. Clock is ticking, time to run. Morning show's a load of fun. Grab your mug, don't spill a drop. Laugh your ass off till you pop.
Oh my god, Shizzy breaks Larry. Shizzy broke Larry.
Good morning, everybody. I hope you're doing wonderful today. Man, oh man, oh man. Good morning, Stormy. How you doing? You nailed that one. Yeah, sometimes I do. And speaking of nailing that one, oh my gosh, did you happen to see, which I'm sure most of you already have, that there is a massive search underway in DC after a military helicopter collided with a jet? So I saw this a little bit last night on Expert. I had to jump and actually get a little bit of rest, which I feel much better today. Not saying that I'm 100%, but I do feel better than I did yesterday. So let's get into this a little bit and see what we know, because there's a lot we don't know. An incoming American Airlines flight from Wichita, Kansas collided with a Black Hawk helicopter over the Potomac River near Reagan National Airport in D.C. on Wednesday night just before 9 p.m. Both the White House, the FAA confirmed that information. All flights at Reagan National have been halted until further notice. The FAA released the following statement about the crash. A PSA airliner Bombardier CRJ-700 regional jet collided in midair with the H-60 helicopter while it approached runway 33, Reagan Washington National Airport around 9 p.m. local time. PSA was operating as a flight for American Airlines. It departed from Wichita, Kansas. The FAA and NTSB will investigate. NTSB will lead the investigation, will provide updates as the information comes in. DC Metropolitan Police Department and DC Fire and EMS also released a statement about the coordinated search rescue operation currently taking place in the Potomac River. At 10:36 p.m., NBC is reporting that 4 victims have been taken at North Boathouse Fire Station at Reagan National Airport. It's unknown whether there are any survivors among the 60 passengers and 4 crew members aboard. The water temperature is reported to be at 37 degrees. American Airlines confirmed the crash on social media. The Army has confirmed that there were 3 soldiers on board the Black Hawk helicopter. There's a massive search and rescue effort underway on the Potomac River. Flights are currently being diverted to other airports. A ground stop is in effect at Reagan National Airport until 5 a.m. on Thursday. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said on X that he is on site with the FAA and closely monitoring the situation. Newly confirmed Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said DOD actively monitoring, poised to assist if needed, which is good because you want to have somebody that's, military can do a search and rescue pretty quickly. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem has been briefed and is actively monitoring the situation. Vice President Vance is asking people to pray for those affected by the crash at 11:03 p.m. Trump released a statement. He's been fully briefed on the terrible accident which just took place. May God bless their souls. Thank you for the incredible work being done by our first responders. I'm monitoring the situation, provide more details as they arrive. Meanwhile, we have unconfirmed air traffic control audio. Okay, so I can't confirm this.
Fire command. The accident happened in the river. Both the helicopter and the plane crashed in the river. It's east of the approach end of runway 33. Is
the airfield closed?
Yes, the airfield is closed. The airfield is closed.
Runways as well?
Yes, all runways are closed. Nobody's landing. No one's moving at all. It was probably out in the middle of the river. I just saw a fireball and then it was just gone. So I haven't seen anything since they hit the river, but it was a CRJ and a helicopter that hit. I would say maybe a half mile off the approach end of 33.
Wow, it is stunning to hear her talk about that when she said she saw the.
And that was the moment where it collided. Now, the audio between these two towers asking if they have the siding affirms the request of visual separation. The plane is reported to have been going about 140 miles an hour to 400 altitude when the crash occurred. WUSA shared a heartbreaking interview with the man whose wife was on the plane. I'm not watching that. That is so sad. Prayers out to them. CBS News reported that no survivors have been found. Police officials said the scene told CBS News there were 3 debris fields in the water and that at least 18 bodies had been recovered. At 11:30, the official said no survivors had been found so far. We're expecting a news conference from DCA at 12:30 a.m. CBS News reports that the plane is in 2 pieces in 7 feet of water and that the helicopter is upside down in the Potomac. DCA is not expected to reopen until Friday. Trump just posted on social media the airline was on a perfect and routine line of approach to the airport. The helicopter was going straight at the airplane for an extended period of time. It is a clear night. The lights on the plane were blazing. Why didn't the helicopter go up or down or turn? Why didn't the control tower tell the helicopter what to do instead of asking if they saw the plane? It's a bad situation. Looks like it could have been prevented. And he says, what a terrible night it's been. At 12:45 at late night DCA press conference, DCA Mayor Muriel Bowser said first responders are executing a rescue operation in Potomac. She would not say whether there were any survivors. However, she confirmed that both aircraft were in the water. Asked about what went wrong, she deferred to the NTSB. Contrary to previous reports, she noted that DCA will reopen at 11 a.m. on Thursday. That'll be today. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said, we want to extend our thoughts and prayers to individuals who are impacted by the events tonight. They're going to offer full support to those on the ground, but also to the NTSB that is going to be conducting the investigation. He stated that he met earlier with Donald Trump and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth in the White House situation to discuss the crash. DC Fire and EMS Chief John Donnelly said 300 responders are working the scene, including boats from throughout the region. It's a highly complex operation in conditions that are extremely rough. Senator Roger Marshall from Kansas called the plane crash an unbearable sorrow, heartbreak beyond measure, and seemed to suggest that there were no survivors. We've been through things like this before, through tornadoes and floods and things, but it's really hard when you lose, probably over 60 Kansas and people from Kansas, that's the best way to put it, simultaneously. And I don't want to forget the pilots and the flight attendants, who were doing their job in the military personnel we lost. The lives are so valuable, and it's such a tragedy that we lost them. He did share his favorite psalm. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Jack Potter from the Metro Washington Airports Authority said, right now we're in rescue mode. We will continue in that rescue mode. We will continue to work through the night. We hope to have more news as it develops, but for right now, it's just a very difficult situation due to the dark and the weather. So lots of prayers out to all of those that are involved, and we would hope that they find people. So awful, still dark and cold. Pray for the people. Yes, most definitely. Good morning, Captain. Good morning. Good morning. So, speaking of crazy stuff, I did not expect to have to cover that this morning, but I knew that it was necessary because last night, Tug just disappeared off stream, and everybody was asking me what was going on because they were concerned. They wanted me to reach out to Tug. I have Megan came in last night also and just let everybody know that Tug is fine. He just has been feeling ill, and he's got it. He's supposed to be going in, and don't worry, he's got someone there with him to make sure that he's fine. So if there's any update, you'll hear it either from Megan, myself, or any of the people that are close to Tug. So just keep some prayers out for him. That happened last night. So I do hope that everything is fine with him. So he's been pushing through. So just like I said, keep your ears out. You'll hear something soon, or you'll hear from him, and he'll just let you know that everything's fine. So keep your prayers on him, if you would. That would be nice. That'd be really nice for you to do. Okay. Let's see what we got here. I had something else I wanted to cover with you this morning. Now, I saw this the other day, and I was going to cover it last night, but I didn't have a whole lot of information of what's going on. I started a little bit early this morning. I was just giving everybody an update of what was going on with the flight there, and see if there was any new news, if they'd found any survivors of the horrible plane crash. Let's go. But it doesn't look like they've found anybody at this time. But if we know more, okay, if we know more, then we'll let you guys know. But right now we don't have any new information. There's crews on scene that are working to do their best to make sure that this is taken care of. But there was, in case you guys don't know, back before all this stuff really got fired off with the anti what the hell's crap, I was covering a bit of Dalton, and usually that would be once a week something new would be coming out. Well, on the 28th, a couple of days ago, we had the meeting of the minds, and it turned into a little bit of a slugfest. So what you're going to see, there might be a little bit of explicit images, dirty words, and general malfeasance. So buckle up, buttercups, because it's going to be some dirty words. I guarantee there's going to be some dirty words, and there might be some fist flying. I don't condone violence. Okay, so just keep that in mind whenever you're watching this. Okay, thank you.
Call you on the phone and tell you how to vote. This is public comment. That's your comment. The point is, why do you have your sidebar? I'm assuming that Miss Everybody has reasoning skills, and she can make a decision on her own. You should not have to tell her what to do. If you have to tell her what to do, and she can't think and reason it out herself, she needs to step down to that position. But we know that's going to be right.
So Tiffany Haynyard is known as one of the most corrupt mayors. Now, I'll probably be going over this possibly this weekend in a little bit more depth, but I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of a sneak peek of what we're going to be talking about and why these kinds of things can turn very bad all the time. Yeah, well, no, I don't think she's in office anymore. She hasn't been voted in. She's trying to get in on getting like a write-in for the next election that's coming up. But this gentleman right here that's about to step up to the podium has a lot to say to her, and that's before it breaks out into some real bad craziness.
Excuse me, my bad. All right, so man, there's so much. I didn't want to say nothing, but I really didn't like how you disrespected the newly elected trustee. But what I want to say is clear that
there has been a newly elected trustee, that's what sets her off.
That you got questionable spending habits, you got a failed business venture, your restaurant was deemed nasty, and it's proven while you talking about her education, we can't even verify yours.
Oh, just.
But since you sold for women, I really already knew by the way you handled Fania. But for you to sit up here and disparage that woman after giving her that fake ass congratulations in the beginning because you thought she was gonna get what you wanted. Here's the thing. I want to educate you. Stephanie Wiedemann is a 20-year employee, and ain't none of her business ventures ever failed. On top of that, she serves as a chief of staff, and she didn't fuck her way to the top. Oh. She's efficient in budgets and don't hide her deeds. She's efficient in organization. She served as a temporary interim executive director for the Dalton Park District until she stepped aside to help her daughter become something you'll never be, which is a married woman. Oh. And her daughter moved away to Texas, and when her daughter moved away to Texas, she went to help her daughter. But I done heard about 4 or 5 people tell me how they had to take care of yours. And so now you've been a half-ass mayor. But if you wanted to get up here and earn some respect, then you should have been able to respond to Lori Lightfoot's report about credit cards. You want to talk about them not coming to work, but we've been hearing about what you've been doing while you've been at work. And I'm going to give away the rest of my time because I think on behalf of the Black Cookout Association that we would rather take a vote and we're going to exchange your black ass for Stephanie being a new member of Congress. So all those in favor say, all those against it say nay, all those in favor say aye. You gone, bitch.
Ooh. And here's where her boyfriend gets into it. So if you don't like violence, if you don't like those kinds of things, turn it off for the next 3.5 minutes because it's about to get really bad. And that right there is what caused it to go crazy. It got much worse than that. The meeting did continue on. But as it was reported, there was a little bit of angst between these folks here, not in a good way. the temperatures were flaring between all of these folks quite a bit. I initially saw it come up on my feed, and I wanted to cover it and talk a little bit about it. Tiffany Haynyard got into quite a bit of trouble for misappropriating funds. It's his it is it is one of those where you would hope that them bringing to light the crooked things that they got into. And I've got let's see if I've got the correct one, because news reporters were there. News reporters were there when this happened. And that is what brings me to I believe it's Channel 7 CBS News has it. Let me make sure I've got this one here really quick. And here we go.
Of any serious injuries or arrests in this incident, but there was real fear and disbelief in that room.
At the time, nobody was arrested because all the parties had left that area by the time that the police arrived. So we'll see. Well, if there's more news that comes out about it. Why can't anyone keep their camera straight? Because people started pushing and shoving, and they didn't want to be in the line of a fight. It's never appropriate to do these kinds of things.
Divisions within Thornton Township government exploded into violence. It happened during public comment, fists flying in a moment of chaos that residents described as disgraceful.
That should never happen. I just couldn't believe that it came to that.
Moments earlier, activist Jedediah Brown had called Supervisor Tiffany Haynyard an expletive, and when he appeared to walk toward her, supporters jumped in. The result, an all-out brawl that multiple witnesses say involved Haynyard herself.
It was one thing when the guys were fighting, but when she jumped in it, I was just taken aback. I was floored.
She jumped.
Oh yeah, she jumped into the fight also. Who didn't start the coffee this morning? Oh, Sergeant Mom, I did start some coffee this morning. I've been up for quite a bit. I've been up and doing a little bit of straightening this morning and taking out the trash and all that kind of stuff. So I've been up for probably about, at this point, a couple hours. Yeah.
Jumped in. She hit her head on the table. So I don't know. She may be injured.
Brown was carried out by security and police were called, but it wasn't over. It took several minutes for tempers to finally cool. Before the fight, there was plenty of verbal sparring. At this first meeting since trustee Stephanie Wiedemann was selected to fill a vacancy on the board at a meeting last week of township electors, ending a political standoff over the position that led to a government shutdown. With Wiedemann, the board finally able to approve the township's tax levy ordinance and insurance, ending the shutdown.
The township will be reopened tomorrow. We will go back to operating our vehicles. All our buses will be out and running.
The board also defying Haynyard, voting to put on leave with pay 2 of her associates and to hire independent auditors to probe their work.
That ain't right.
But the abrupt, violent end to the evening leaving residents upset. This meeting to do the people's work, marred by ugliness. Messages.
Yeah, that was what happened there. What is it? Straightening whiskey or Bloody Mary? No, none of those at all. No. I actually, I think this weekend, I might be dry this weekend. Depends on what is today. Today's the 30th. Tomorrow's the 31st. So tomorrow night might be the last drink I have for the month. Oh, that's going to be horrible, isn't it? So I've only had alcohol on the weekends, which is good. It's good. No. Don't tempt me. Yeah, ridiculous stuff. It was, like I said, uncalled for actions that shouldn't have been happening. But this is what happens whenever temperatures rise. Temperatures rise, people get hurt. Shouldn't have that. All right, now now that we've gotten all of those little housekeeping pieces out of the way, it's always news. But those were some older things I wanted to cover. Maybe we'll see. Maybe we'll get into it a little bit more in depth. Hell, even possibly Friday. I'm sure that Mo has been talking about that. And Friday will be right here. Mo will be on with me Friday morning, and that's always a fun one. So keep that in your mind. Remember, beginning of February 1st, the store will be running a discount on everything. So keep an eye out for that, and there will be more things added to it. I've got other things that are sort of on the back burner that I'm working on getting those. Plus, hopefully, I have a new album out that has some of the music you've been hearing over the past few days that I've been teasing with. Yeah, such a tease. So those will all be coming out here shortly. So keep an eye out for those. And now we go on to the news. Tim Walz's first post-election national interview was a predictable meltdown. In his first nationally televised interview since the election, Governor Tim Walz didn't just express his grief over the loss, he laid bare the growing fatigue among Democrats and their supporters in the wake of losing so definitively to Donald Trump. The interview, of course, took place on MSNBC with Rachel Madcow hosting, so it met all the requirements of a Democrat safe space. Walz came in with his trademark resting frown, Don Rickles, to blubber and cry about what's happening under the new Trump administration in a desperate attempt to stay relevant. And you just had to know that Project 2025, of course, would show up. And a lot of people have been today in the last few days crediting your campaign and crediting all the reporting during your campaign that identified Project 2025 as essentially what looked like a blueprint for the incoming Trump administration to dismantle the American government. Mad Cow said. They denied it. They said they had nothing to do with it and they'd never heard of it. Does it seem to you like that's actually what they're doing? And of course, Waltz in his total sympathetic thing is, oh, it is. It doesn't seem what it is. Well, I guess old habits die hard. Well, if you would actually go after Waltz for political advice, Mad Cow nevertheless asked Waltz about what to do next. And the average person watching you right now who agrees with this needs a big push, a push back. What should they do? And of course, he says, yeah, and you should that overused term, the frog in the boiling water. We've been in the damn pot way too long, he says. I think it's speaking up. I think it's about your neighbors. It's writing and putting those members of Congress. Look, there's no spine among these folks. But it's real. This is, they're talking about defunding the police. Things that they, puff their chest up and say that they're good with making the case. Well, this poorly executed analogy only serves to highlight the mental spirit that the Democrat Party is caught in. Rather than proactively fostering a robust counter narrative against Trump's policies, Waltz appears to be wallowing in despair, which I would say is pretty on brand for him. When addressing the following defeat, Waltz lamented to the voters, I am witness to everybody's fatigue. Trust me, I get it. It was pure hell, and the disappointment, the frustration, and I'm soul searching. What could we have done to make the case? Because we knew this was coming. Oh, yeah, sure enough. It's cute. He really thought that he and Camel Toe had a shot. According to multiple reports, not once during the election did the Harris-Waltz internal polling show that Camel Toe was ahead. And did the campaign not share this with the candidates? Unable to accept defeat, Waltz did what Democrats do best, promote a hoax scandal, apropos of nothing. Waltz nonchalantly quipped in the middle of a rant, we spent 3 days, trying to debate that President Musk gave a Yahtzee salute. Of course he did. Does he really want to go there? Does he really want to go there? I mean, because he could really go there. What was that he was saying? Waltz knows as much as we all do that Musk didn't do a salute. The following video shows Waltz doing the exact same gesture, including pounding his heart at a rally. Yeah. Yeah. You saw that? See it again? Yeah. Same damn thing. So why continue to push this hoax? Because this is all that the Democrats have now. In 2017, it was Russia, 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 Russia. In 2025, it's Yahtzee, 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 Yahtzee. Ironically, Waltz actually advised his fellow Democrats not to take the bait on distractions. So, as Democrats regroup in the wake of their losses, one can only hope that they take a hard look at the sobering truth. No amount of self-pity or cryptic metaphors will revive their chances if they don't reevaluate their disconnected approach in engaging with the American electorate. So, as many post-election polls and focus groups have all pointed to the fact that voters feel that Democrats don't care about the issues that matter to them anymore, like all of them, yet Democrats, like Waltz, are hell-bent on the idea. The problem is Trump for doing exactly what he said he would do if reelected. The whining, the crying, the seething.
Donald Trump's reckless action cut off funding to law enforcement, farmers, schools, childcare, veterans, and healthcare. While he was out golfing, he threw the country into crisis. This is not bold. It's not leadership. It's stupid, buffoonish, childish of exactly what they did. Most folks were up all night last night as we dealt with this being thrown on there with no guidance. I know you have a lot of questions. I have a lot of questions because not one damn person thought this through. I'm hearing within the last few minutes, oh, no, the Medicare thing was just a fluke. It's unrelated to this. That is, there is absolutely no way they didn't know exactly what they were doing.
Minnesota Governor and Democratic Vice Presidential nominee Tim Walz speaking this afternoon in Minnesota.
Yeah, this is the attitude that he has. Just me, Trump is draining the swamp. Yes. And everybody is in a slight bit of a panic. If you're a government worker, you've gotten into a little bit of a panic. Why would you be in such a panic? Well, because it is one of those where they've said, you know what, we're done with your crap. We've had enough of it. Like this. Trump's civil service reform has nothing to do with politicalization. It's all but impossible to imagine anything that President Trump has done that could do to further enrage the far left activists who dominate the federal career civil services, offering 2.3 million government employees an extremely generous severance package. Trump was overwhelmingly elected in November of 2024 by voters who made it crystal clear their convictions that the federal government costs way too much. It's imposed millions of unneeded and wasteful regulations, employs far more bureaucrats than it actually needs, and cannot even document that all of them on the payroll are actually working productively. So Trump offers an incredibly generous buyout or severance package that includes a full compensation and benefits through the month of September, as well as an exemption from all in-person work requirements to accept. You simply click the reply button, type resign, and send. The alternative is you take your chances with the reality that Trump and the Republican Congress are determined to do what the majority of voters decreed, and that is to eliminate unneeded and duplicative federal programs and agencies, which will in turn render hundreds and quite possibly thousands of federal jobs unwanted, unneeded. The response to Trump's offer was predictable, with federal employee unions and associations uniformly rejecting it while accusing Trump of politicizing the federal workforce as an epitome in American Federation of government employees. President Everett Kelly's comment to AP was purging the federal government of dedicated career federal employees will have vast unintended consequences that will cause chaos for Americans who depend on functioning federal government. Kelly said in a statement. Between the flurry of anti-worker executive orders and policies, it's clear that Trump administration goal is to turn the federal government into a toxic environment where workers cannot even stay if they want to. Tell me what kind of work that you're doing. I will tell you what, that I've seen the guys that are going to be picking up my garbage in the morning doing more work than some of these federally funded employees. And they're paid a hell of a lot less than some of these federally funded employees. They don't get all the benefits that all of these federally funded employees get. And then there's the Raging Manifesto, which is reposted on X, which declares, I've been an OPM office personnel manager employee for nearly a decade and a federal employee for almost 20 years. Really? I've never witnessed anything even remotely close to what's happening right now. In short, there's a hostile takeover of the federal civil service. Let me say, this is no uncertain terms. OPM has been compromised and taken over. The very backbone of American government, the HR of all HR in the U.S. government, has been taken over by outside politicals. In just 5 days, they managed to push aside dozens of non-political career civil servants who were there specifically to prevent the civil service from becoming the president's henchmen. Yeah. He removed DEI officials that use racism and characteristics that you can't change. Physical characteristics that you can't change to push an agenda, and they have been doing that for quite some time. And Trump just said no. The author of those 2 paragraphs clearly knows nothing about the origins of career federal civil service and its relationship to the only popularly elected executive branch official, the President of the United States. The Pendleton Act of 1883 was signed into law by President Chester Arthur, who succeeded President James A. Garfield following the latter's deletion by angry spoils system job seeker. What is now known as OPM was originally called the Civil Service Commission, with its 3 members being presidential appointees. The main task of the commission was to establish a merit-based examinations process to end the distribution of government jobs as the spoils rightfully gained by the winner of the most recent presidential election. To that end, the Pendleton Act said this about the role of the president. Third, said commissions shall, not may, but shall, subject to the rules that may be made by the president, make regulations for and have control of such examinations, and through its members or the examiners, it shall supervise and preserve the records of the same. Said commission shall keep minutes of its own proceedings. Emphasis is added on the subject to the rules that may be made by the president. Under Pendleton, the president decided how the commission went about creating and administering the new civil services examination selection process for hiring government workers. The same still applies to the commissioner's successor, OPM, and covers every aspect of hiring, evaluating, promoting, and separating all career civil servants on the basis of how well they perform their work. That basis has nothing to do with their political opinions. In other words, when Trump directed OPM to issue the buyout offer described above, he was acting in accordance with a very founding document of the career civil service. The people elect a president to carry out a promised agenda. The president then directs the government workforce on how his or her agenda is to be administered. And to put it another way, civil service workers are public employees. It's not up to them to decide whether or not to implement administrative procedures underlying the policy agenda endorsed by the majority of voters who select the president. To say civil servants should be totally independent of the president and be empowered to decide how the government functions is to replace our representative republic's rule of the many with the unaccountable and tyrannical view of the few. Remember that. always. And to push that point just a little bit further, this right here should explain it best.
Democracy is a form of government based upon the principle of majority rule, period. End of discussion. Now, that's not very complicated. Majority rule. It's easy to understand, easy to sell to the masses, and I might add, deadly. For example, what would you call a lynch mob? That's majority rule. There's only one dissenting vote, and he's at the end of the rope. Now, that's pure democracy in action. But wait a minute, you say. The majority should rule, yes, but not to the extent of destroying the rights of the minority. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we are no longer describing a democracy. We are speaking of a republic. A republic is a limited democracy. It's a form of government based upon the principle of limited majority rule. Limited so that the minority, even a minority of one, can be protected against the whims and passions of the majority. And how do you protect the minority from the majority? You write down a set of rules on a piece of paper. You say, this we can do, that we cannot. At the top of the paper, you write the word Constitution. And then everyone agrees to follow the rules no matter what the temptation. And when you're finished, you've created a constitutional republic.
Beautiful thing, isn't it? You're going to love what Tom Homan said about Joe Reed's meltdowns is the next headline. Tom Homan is easily becoming one of my favorite Trump appointees. In addition to his effective enforcement of our nation's immigration laws, he's 100% unapologetic about the work that he's doing. Recently, MSNBC's, which is failing miserably, Joy Reid launched into lengthy meltdown over what she termed performative ICE raids happening across the nation. While interviewing New York Attorney General Letitia James, the latter called the raids reckless. Reckless and also, as I said, performative. I want to show you an image of Christine Noem, who is just confirmed, the former governor who was confirmed as Department of Homeland Security, Reid replied. It's just if she's cosplaying. It's almost a game where she seems to be cosplaying as I'm not sure what she thinks that she's portraying here. Reid continues. She might as well be a Comic-Con looking at this, and it feels like an attempt, as you said, it's to instill fear, not really enforce the law. You can't say you're going after individuals who are just dangerous criminals if you're invading schools, because elementary and high school kids cannot be what you're talking about. When Homan joined Fox News, Jesse Waters on Tuesday responded to Reid's meltdown, and he did not mince words. She's dumber than a box of rocks, Homan told Waters. Fact check, true. Bottom line is, we'll just let him say it. We'll just let him say it, because that's the best way to do it.
Listen to this. New York City joined the list of cities where these performative raids are taking place. We have a government right now that is reckless. Reckless and also, as I've said, performative. I want to show you an image of Kristi Noem, who was just confirmed, the former governor who was confirmed as a Department of Homeland Security. It's as she's cosplaying. It's almost a game where she seems to be cosplaying, because I'm not sure what she thinks that she's portraying here. She might as well be at Comic-Con.
James and Joy say you're reckless and you're just role-playing for fun.
She's dumber than a box of rocks. Bottom line is, let's talk about Chicago for a minute. Chicago mayor says that we put fear in the elementary schools because ICE agents went to elementary school. Total false story. What ICE did in Chicago is save children. What we did in New York today is save children. Just Chicago alone, we arrested like 9 sexual predators, most of them child sex predators. We took them off the street. We took them off the street in New York today. We're protecting the community. We're saving children. We're going to secure that border so less Americans die of fentanyl deaths. We're securing.
He's not wrong. This is what needs to be happening. This is what people were asking to happen well before Tom Homan came into play. Well before any of the politicians that are currently here came into play. Long before Trump, long before Walz, long before Camel Toe, long before you had Obama, people were asking this to happen. remove the people that have broken the law multiple times.
The border, so less women and children are sex trafficked. Biden administration had a 600% increase in sex trafficking. We're securing the border, so less terrorists and people on terrorist watch lists get into the country. Biden, under Biden, we had a 3,500% increase in people on terrorist watch lists. No, we're saving this nation. We're making America safe again. So they need to get out of the way because we're coming. We're going to do it. They're not going to stop us.
Listen to this.
That's amazing. That's what we need from leadership. And how can you not love Tom Homan? He's no nonsense, unapologetic fighter. We need it as a border czar, and he's not taking any crap. Unlike Camel Toe, that just decided to take her happy ass to, what was it, Guatemala, some, I don't know, South American countries, Latin American. I don't know. She just disappeared. She didn't even go to the border to see what the situation was there. When Tom Homan had a lot more to say about the poor conditions on the ICE detention centers.
You treating migrants humanely,
Yes.
but there's been reports of them on planes with no water,
That was a bunch of
complaining.
crap. That was a bunch of crap.
What do you mean a bunch of crap?
ICE detention facilities have the highest detention standards in the industry. Any of the ICE standards, our detention standards are higher than any state or federal or local facility in the nation, in the world. Someone should go to the ICE website, look at PBNDS 11, performance-based detention standards, and look at our detention standards, highest in industry.
But are you sure you're only getting illegal criminal migrants? I mean, there were some pictures over the weekend of people that claim to be students, Brazilian students, who were showing.
If you came across the border illegally, you already broke the law. We've said this multiple times. We've been saying this for the past 3 years. If you cross the border without going through the proper customs, without going through the checkpoints, then you're here illegally. You broke the law. Simple as that.
Showing examples of bruises on their arms from American deportation flights.
That's ridiculous, but if they want to make a complaint, we investigate it.
Yep.
But your assurance is what?
The men and women of ICE are professionals. We do this for a living. And I can tell you, I ran ICE for years. I was the first director of ICE came up through the ranks. Again, these men and women professional, highest detention standards in the industry. We take care of these people. But we're going to enforce the law, and we're not going to apologize for doing it.
Exactly, Ben Hook.
And you're going to do it in a sort of public way with, do you need to use the big military planes? Is that part of a sort of shock and awe tactic?
No.
They haven't been used before, have they, for migrants?
No, we got President Trump. We're going to use all the government to secure our border, which is the biggest national security
morning,
vulnerability this
Sherry.
country's ever seen. And we're going to enforce laws in this country. It's not okay to enter this country illegally. It's a crime. And when you cause a crisis as big as the Biden administration caused, when you overwhelm the border patrol, but they can't do their national security job, that's when the fentanyl come across, kill 250,000 Americans. That's when you have a 600% increase in sex trafficking. That's when you have a record number of no-inspected terrorists coming across an open border. President Trump's going to secure the border as promised to the American people. We're going to enforce immigration laws. That's what we're going to do without apology. We're on board. We're going to go forward. You're going to see it get a hell of a lot bigger in the near future.
Yeah. And if people think that I'm saying these things out of being hateful, it's not true. Some of the people that I worked with whenever I first moved here to Georgia, they were legal migrants. They had homes in Mexico. One guy actually had a ranch in Mexico with his wife, his mistress, and his girlfriend all living on the same ranch. I was like, oh man, that's way too much for me. But what he would do is every year he would come at the very beginning of spring, and he would work all the way through until it got into the latter part of fall. And then he would take his happy self back to his ranch in Mexico, go just have fun and have a good time, and bring in all that money for his people. Well, thank you very much, Mel Clump. I just saw this super sticker. Thank you. I appreciate you. Let me get a super sticker for you because you're super. Thanks for asking. Oh yes, that one. Let's see. We're looking for blank spots right there. There we go. There's a blank spot right there. Right there. That one's for you. Thank you so much for the super sticker. Now, that's what he would do. And he would rent a place out, and he had 2 sons from different mothers, because I think he was working on his third marriage. Go figure. I think his ex-wife lived there on that ranch also, because he wanted to make sure she was taken care of. But he had two sons from prior marriages, and whenever they were of age, they went through the proper channels. They got work visas, and they would come to the United States. They would jump on a bus. They would come cruising into town, and they would have somebody pick them up, and they would rent a house out for the time that they were going to be there, like a sort of a long-term rental, and they would go to work. And from sun up to sundown, these guys would work, and sometimes at night too. That was what they came to do. It was good pay, and the cost of living in Mexico wasn't very great. But they went through the proper channels, and you would be amazed how angry that these guys would get whenever they would see people that were coming across the border illegally. They'd actually turn them in if they found out, because whenever you had these kinds of things happening, it degraded the amount of work that they could find and keep going, because you'd always have somebody that would want to come in and do it for less and do it under the table so they didn't have to pay taxes. These guys would come in, they'd pay their taxes, they'd work, do a work visa, and I mean, just very good camaraderie. Weekends, they'd still be working. That's the people that I came in that I worked with, and there's countless of people that do it the right way. It's whenever you have people that pile in and then start leeching off of government systems, that's where we start having a big disconnect with people. And speaking of having a big disconnect with people, we got these fine folks right here. Oh my, oh my, oh my. Right there. The Democrats have become the party of big pharma. I think they've always been the party of big pharma. The COOF pandemic should have put to rest any debate over whether big pharma is truly about helping people. Yet, for some reason, these Democrats who claim to care about the people have reacted so negatively to Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s nomination to be HHS secretary that it's clear they've established themselves as the big pharma party. Most telling was when Senator Elizabeth Warren faced off against Kennedy Jr. during his confirmation hearing. It's going to be glorious.
There's a lot of ways that you can influence those future lawsuits and pending lawsuits while you are Secretary of HHS. And I'm asking you to commit right now that you will not take a financial stake in every one of those lawsuits, so that what you do as secretary will also benefit you financially down the line.
I'll comply with all the ethical guidelines.
That's not the question.
And that's all he needs to say. And of course, I hope they show the last statement that was made after this. But we'll see. We'll see.
You and I, you have said
You're asking me, Senator, you're asking me not to sue vaccine pharmaceutical companies. Yeah, you are. That's exactly what you're doing.
Look, no one should be fooled here. As Secretary of HHS, Robert Kennedy will have the power to undercut vaccines and vaccine manufacturing across our country. And for all of his talk about follow the science and his promise that he won't interfere with those of us who want to vaccinate his kids, the bottom line is the same. Kennedy can kill off access to vaccines and make millions of dollars while he does it. Kids might die, but Robert Kennedy can keep cashing in.
Senator, I support vaccines. I support the childhood schedule. I will do that. The only thing I want is good science, and that's it.
How about then say you won't make money off what you do as Secretary of HHS?
And after this, I'm hoping that they have it here. It's worth mentioning that she received the second amount of highest donations from Big Pharma of any senator back in 2020. As you may recall, during the COOF pandemic, we saw the vaccines roll out in record time, yet the federal government granted companies like Pfizer and Moderna immunity from liability if anything went wrong. Meanwhile, life-saving therapeutics were subject to a massive smear campaign. A prime example of this was hydrochloroquine, whatever. I can't pronounce it. Why was there such a massive campaign against it? Because it was decades old anti-malaria drug that was out of patent. So there was no money to be made from it. So while Big Pharma got the big money and immunity from untested vaccines, if you experienced a major side effect from any one of those from Pfizer or Moderna, there was nothing that you could do about it. As for the money, there was also a blatant profiteering from endless booster shots. It became painfully clear that public health took a backseat to Big Pharma's profits. Pharmaceutical giants raked in billions while silencing dissenting voices, all the while enjoying legal immunity from liability. Meanwhile, government agencies and the media worked overtime to push their narrative, censoring anyone who dared question the science or demand transparency. If there was ever any doubt the Big Pharma priorities, profit over people, the pandemic erased it. And the Democrats have proven themselves to be the party of Big Pharma because they get paid handsomely to support Big Pharma's interests. Robert F. Kennedy has a mission to end the chronic disease epidemic and make America healthy again. It's a noble mission, and I don't think anyone can honestly say that America isn't as healthy as it was decades ago. The question comes down to, what are we going to do about it? Are we going to let pharmaceutical companies get immunity when they sell us vaccines that don't give us immunity? Not even if we take booster after booster after booster. Are we going to fix the problem with the source? Democrats care more about how much money pharmaceutical companies and health insurance companies make than actually making people healthier. And right there is the crux of it. And I want to see if I can find it, because I watched some of this last night. Not this particular one. That exchange I watched, and there was a senator that came in there after all of that and had quite a bit to say. I want to see if I could find that, because it was quite a bit important what he said right after that. And let me see if I can find it. It was, I believe, right here. And I know the moment where it happened. Let me find it real quick. It was after Warren, because it was important what he had to say after she came in lambasting him. And it is right about here that she loses it. Let me double check. And let me make sure I got. Hold on. I'm just double checking to make sure I've got it.
I support the childhood schedule. I will do that. The only thing I want is good science, and that's it.
How about then say you won't make money off what you do as Secretary of HHS?
Before we go to Senator Tillis,
Right here.
I think would be important for me to make it very clear that Mr. Kennedy has gone through the same Office of Government Ethics process as every single other nominee in the Finance Committee this year and in previous administrations. In addition to listing his assets, including the items that you've identified, he has signed an ethics letter that has been reviewed by the Office of Government Ethics concerning any possible conflict in light of its functions and the nominee's proposed duties. And we have a letter from the Office of Government Ethics that he hasn't complied completely with all applicable laws and regulations governing conflicts of interest.
Mr. Chairman, point of information here. Have we had a single nominee come through who's made $2.5 million off suing?
It doesn't matter how much money they made. How much money have you made there, Pocahontas? How much money has she made? She better hope he doesn't have a spouse waiting to yeller. Yeah. How much money has she made off of those donations, those political donations? Mm-hmm.
One of the entities that it would be regulating, and plans to keep getting a take of every lawsuit in the future. Have we had that before?
I haven't reviewed the past documentation of every other nominee's financial interests. And so, no, but I know that every single time we get a nominee, their financial interests are attacked. That's why we have the Office of Government Ethics. That's why they've reviewed everything that's in his record. And that's why he has even, I think, and I don't know that I want to ask him to get into it, but he has listed his assets and has gone through a discussion of the responsibilities under our ethics laws and is complied with all of those requirements.
Imagine that. Complied with every single one of the requirements. He's met the burden, or else he wouldn't be here. He wouldn't be there in the first place. So whenever you hear them start to rant and rave about it, just remember, he wiped the floor with them. So he was on Capitol Hill Wednesday for his first confirmation, which we know about it. The next Health and Human Services Secretary, as expected, the nomination was one of the more controversial ones Trump made, and Democrats are terrified of the idea of Kennedy leading that agency. Well, Catherine Cortez Masto, a Democrat from Nevada, questioned him. Kennedy explained that President Trump has asked me to end the chronic disease epidemic and make America healthy again. Yet for some reason, that wasn't a good enough answer for her. And she said, is that the only reason you're at HHS, is to address that one issue? Kennedy's response was pretty epic. He said, President Trump has asked me because I'm in a unique position to end that. And that is what I'm doing. Let's see if we've got the piece where he just wipes the floor with
President Trump has asked me to end the chronic disease epidemic and make America healthy again. And
So is that the only reason why you're at HHS? Is that the only reason why then you're at the HHS, to address that one issue?
President Trump has asked me because I'm in a unique position to end that. And that is what I'm doing. And if we don't solve that problem, Senator, all of the other disputes we have about who's paying, and whether it's insurance companies, whether it's providers, whether it's HMOs, whether it's patients or families, all of those are moving deck chairs around on the Titanic. Our ship is sinking. Our 60% increase in Medicaid over the past 4 years is the biggest budget line now, and it's growing faster than any other. And no other nation in the world has what we have here. No other nation has a chronic disease. We have the highest chronic disease burden of any country in the world. We had, during COVID, we had 16% of the COVID deaths in a country. We only have 4.2% of the world's population. We had a higher death count than any country in the world. And when CDC was asked why, they said it's because Americans are the sickest people on earth. The average person who died from COVID, American, had 3.8 chronic diseases. This is an existential threat economically, to our military, to our health, to our sense of well-being. And it is a priority for President Trump. And that's why he asked me to run the agency. And if I'm privileged to be confirmed, that's exactly what I'll do.
Exactly. There's a TB strain out that's resistant to antibiotics, and yes, we'll see more viruses like measles, mumps, smallpox, etc. Those will always be around, and they will work to find a way to stop those viruses from spreading. It's going to happen. I mean, they're viruses. They mutate. They mutate, and it's been happening for quite some time. You cannot eliminate every single virus off the face of the planet. Well, during that particular pointed exchange, Senator Ron Wyden challenged Kennedy's consistency on vaccine statements, referring previous statements he made. All of these things cannot be true. So are you lying to Congress today when you say that you're pro-vaccine, or did you lie on all those podcasts? Kennedy defended himself, claimed that his statements on the Lex Friedman podcast was taken out of context. He called out the senator for being dishonest. He said, "Senator, you know, because it's been repeatedly debunked. That statement that I made on Lex Friedman's podcast was a fragment of the statement. He asked me, and anybody who actually goes and looks at the podcast will see this. He asked me, are there vaccines that are safe and effective? And I said to him, some of the live virus vaccines are. And I said, there are no vaccines that are safe and effective. And I was going to continue for every person. He says, there are no vaccines that are safe and effective for every person. That was the context of it. But listen to him yourself, and then we're gonna take a little coffee break.
All of these things cannot be true. So, are you lying to Congress today when you say you are pro-vaccine, or did you lie on all those podcasts? We have all of this on tape, by the way.
Yeah, Senator, as you know, because it's been repeatedly debunked, that statement that I made on the Lex Friedman podcast was a fragment of the statement. He asked me, and anybody who actually goes and looks at that podcast and will see this. He asked me, are there vaccines that are safe and effective? And I said to him, some of the live virus vaccines are. And I said, there are no vaccines that are safe and effective. And I was going to continue for every person. Every medicine has people who are sensitive to them, including vaccines.
All right. So
he interrupted me at that point. I've corrected it many times, including on national TV. You know about this, Senator Wyden. So bringing this up right now is dishonest.
Yeah, exactly. Wyden received $1.8 million from the big pharma. Yeah, exactly. 1.8 million. Go figure. See, I think their biggest concern, some of these senators are concerned that they're going to be sued. They're going to be sued by people that are just like, what did you give us? What did you take from us? Warner didn't like that and probably started talking over at Kennedy, insisting he would take that response as a no. We talked about protecting Americans for cyber criminals, something we need to do a lot more on. He continued, will you commit to fire anyone in the health arena who currently works on protecting Americans from cyber attacks in their healthcare files? And he said, I will commit to not firing anybody who's doing their job. But we are going to take a quick coffee break because I am just, my cup runneth empty. So we'll give you a little short break with some happy otters. How's that? Just a happy otter is going to come popping up here. A little bit of ramble, a little bit of love.
Shizzy, when it's chat we thrive, where Shizzy does dance and memes arrive. No quiet moments, no dull night. We laugh and funny sight. Oh, Shizzy's crowd, you're wild and true, with crazy kicks and jokes that flew. We're living pixels in the stream, a digital dream, a shared daydream. From shoutouts to those random screams, to inside jokes and endless memes. We talk and Shizzy, when it's chat we thrive, where Shizzy does dance and memes arrive. No quiet moments, no dull night. We laugh and funny sight. Oh, Shizzy's crowd, you're wild and true, with crazy gifts and jokes that flew. We're living pixels in the stream, a digital dream, a shared daydream. From shoutouts to those random screens, to inside jokes and endless memes. In Shizzy, when it's chat we thrive, where Shizzy does dance and memes arrive. No quiet moments, no dawn night. We laugh and funny sight. Oh, Shizzy's crowd, you're wild and true, with crazy gifts and jokes that flew. We'll live in pixels in the stream, a digital dream, a shared daydream. From shout-outs to those random screams, to inside jokes and endless memes. We type our hearts, we spam the love. Our chat rooms like a lit-up club. Oh, chat rooms like a lit-up club. Oh, Shizzy's crowd, you're wild and true, with crazy gifts and jokes that flew. We'll live in pixels in the stream, a digital dream, a shared daydream. Ooh, yeah, we come together night and day. We laugh, we play in our way. A family in a cyberspace, loving hearts in this virtual place. Oh, Shizzy's crowd, you're wild and true, with crazy gifts and jokes that flew. We'll live in pixels in the stream, a digital dream, a shared daydream.
Oh yeah. Well, as you will see, this is not medical misinformation. This is talking about a confirmation hearing. And listen to this next exchange.
But if you are in this position, will you pledge that you will not fire federal employees who work on food safety, work on trying to preventing things like salmonella?
Senator, there are 91,000 employees.
So that I take that
91,000.
It's a simple yes. And I'm going to take that as a no. I take that as a no. Will you actually? We talked about protecting Americans from cyber criminals. Something we need to do a lot more on. Will you commit not to fire anyone in the health arena who currently works on protecting Americans from cyber attacks in their healthcare files?
I will commit to not firing anybody who's doing their job.
Based on your opinion, based upon your opinion, or your political agenda, or Mr. Trump's political agenda?
Based upon my opinion.
I guess that means a lot of the folks who've had any type of views on vaccines will be out of work.
He never said that. He never said that once. And poor RFK can't get a single word in edgewise. Yeah, I know. That is absolutely true. They just keep interrupting him. Thank you, Brandon, for your support. That is for you right there. Oh, got a star right on the back of my melon right there. Thank you very much. Yeah, the helmet's filling up pretty good. I'm loving it. Ah, yes. Sure, because HHS has no cybersecurity staff. I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not. But Bernie is the one that really took the cake. Trust me. It got much better.
Are you supportive of these onesies? I'm supportive of vaccines. Are you supportive of this clothing, which is militantly anti-vaccine? I am supportive of vaccines. I will. I want good science, and I want to protect. But you will not tell.
Just watch them. Sure, because there's no security. Yeah. Yeah, that was Bernie Sanders going off on it. It's crazy that they just missed it all the way around. But it's become very clear. It has become very clear that things have gotten really bad for Democrats. They're not going well. They lost the Oval Office, the House, the Senate last year's elections in a brutal rejection of their radicalism. Polls and focus groups have repeatedly shown that voters don't believe Democrats care about the issues that matter most to them anymore. And I don't trust polls. Now that Democrats are out of power, licking their wounds, they have no idea what to do next. Democrat lawmakers, activists, strategists across the ideological spectrum are engaged in a fierce debate over how badly the damage of the 2024 election left the party's brand, a consequential internal argument that's already shaping early efforts to rebuild. According to the New York Times, the Democrat leaders are in sharp disagreement over how to interpret losses and not only returned Mr. Trump to power, but also put Republicans in total control of the federal government. According to the report, there's a cacophony of voices in the party demanding a reckoning to complete a reinvention of the party. Well, that would be a smart move. However, not everyone is on board with such a drastic overhaul. Some prefer to wait and see approach, banking on potential backlash against Donald Trump's ambitious White House agenda. My money is that on the Democrats hoping to ride that wave of public discontent to reclaim the House of Representatives in 2026. But it's a risky gamble infused with denial as they cling to the hope that the tide of public opinion will turn against Trump. Voters elected him to jumpstart our economy, fix the border crisis. Not only are voters more optimistic about the future now, but the successes of Trump's deportations efforts are undeniable. A complete reinvention would be better. Trade in the preferred pronouns for sound policies that the public can support. Really, at this point, they don't have much to lose, according to another poll that I don't trust. The Democrat Party is in a tailspin, just 31% of voters holding a favorable opinion. Meanwhile, a staggering 57% view them unfavorably. This is the lowest approval rating since Quinnipiac began tracking this data. Conversely, Republicans are experiencing a surge in support, reaching a record high of 43, which I still don't trust their polls. Rankings in the same survey. Sure, Republicans are underwater too, but only by 2 points, not 26 like the Democrat Party. Now, this tells us that party leaders who think that they don't need to adapt and wait for public sentiment to turn on Trump are deluding themselves. The Quinnipiac poll reveals loud and clear that voters are solidly in favor of key Republican vote policies. I still don't trust the polls. A whopping 60% of support sending U.S. troops to the southern border to enforce border security, and that's no small number. It doesn't stop there. 44% of back the deportation of all illegal aliens, and while another 39% are on board with deporting those convicted of crimes. Shockingly, only 6% oppose deportations altogether. This is a mandate for action. It's evident that the public is fed up with the Biden-era status quo. That message is loud and clear. Americans want real solutions to border security, and they're looking to Republicans to deliver. If Democrats think resist is a strategy to win over the public sentiment, then they are, and always will be, kidding themselves on this. It's amazing that they haven't learned from their past problems, their past mistakes. And one does hope that they really get their head out of their ass for this. And we've got more. We do have some fun stuff today. Give me just a second. Let's see what this one is in particular. I haven't read this one, so you're going to be catching this new with me. The White House rescinds federal aid freeze memo. A spokesperson says that the memo is the only thing the administration is rescinding. CNN reports the White House Office of Management and Budget has rescinded the federal aid freeze, according to a memo from Trump's administration obtained by CNN. Well, the original article, the federal judge blocked the Trump's administration's pause in federal funding until Monday. U.S. District Judge Lauren Aiken blocked the funding freeze minutes before it was to take effect. The suit was brought by nonprofit groups that receive federal funding and claim that only Congress can freeze it. And later on Tuesday afternoon, 22 Democrat attorneys filed a suit seeking to block and permanently prevent administration from freezing funding. There's no question this policy is reckless, dangerous, blah, 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 blah. And that's the $7 trillion question. $7 trillion. that it's unlikely that an appellate judge will resolve it. The issue of the legality of the freeze is headed straight to the Supreme Court. The only question is whether Trump will be allowed to freeze the disbursement of funds while the case is being litigated. Obviously, the frozen federal funds will eventually be dispersed. Trump can't unilaterally undo what Congress has done. The money has already been appropriated. But Trump's opponents are probably saying wrong in saying the move to freeze the funds is illegal. There are very few grants and loans with specific time frame for disbursement. Trump is well within his rights as chief executive to choose when most of those funds are activated. Trump has wrong-footed the entire Democrat government establishment, and the panic is already setting in. It seems like the federal government currently doesn't actually know the full extent of the programs that are going to be subject to this pause. Via the Associated Press, Jessica Morton, an attorney for the National Council of Nonprofits, which brought the suit, said the group has tens of thousands of members around the country who could be affected. Our client members have reported being extremely concerned about having to shutter if there's even a brief pause. The Justice Department attorney, Daniel Swillia, argued that the freeze should be put on hold because the plaintiffs hadn't specified anyone who would immediately lose funding if it goes into effect. Trump's administration officials said programs that provide direct assistance to Americans would not be affected, such as Medicare, Social Security, student loans, food stamps, but they sometimes struggle to provide a clear picture. White House Press Secretary Carolyn Levitt initially would not say whether Medicaid was exempted from the freeze, but the administration did later clarify that it was. Either someone didn't get the memo, or they were deliberately trying to make the administration look bad when Medicaid, Head Start, and several other federal programs denied access to its funding site. We have confirmed no payments have been affected. Hold on just a second. Someone dropped a $5 here. Liz Bird, can I get a star sticker with a super chat? Being in the UK, I struggle to catch your lives for one. I'm getting jealous of the shiny stars. Of course you can get a star sticker. I've got you. I got you covered. You get a nice purple one right there, and you're just going to be touching tips with some other stars there. There you go, right there. It's sort of like Hollywood, just touching tips with a bunch of other stars. Thank you, Liz, for the $5. I appreciate you. You guys are awesome. Well, the panic spread by the lack of clarity and uncertainty is now creating chaos. Meals on Wheels spokesperson Jenny Young said she warned that seniors may panic not knowing where their next meal will come from. They'll panic because you're deliberately trying to scare them. We're going to hear a lot of caterwauling like this for the next week or so. Once the federal spigot is reopened, all the talk about starving old people and not being able to fund schools will cease. And it will go away. We won't have to listen to it anymore. They'll move on to something else, as they always do. Speaking of moving on to something else, we've got this right here. Guess who California Dems say is liable for wildfire damages? After the wildfires exposed the incompetence and misplaced priorities of the Democrats' leadership in California, at the state and local levels, a new bill has been introduced to ensure that wildfire victims don't blame Democrat budget cuts or DEI programs for the botched response to the disaster. Instead, it incentivizes them to seek damages from the left's favorite boogeyman. Democrat Senator Scott Wiener had proposed legislation allowing victims of wildfires to sue oil companies for climate change related damages. Yes, you heard that right. The bill literally deflects accountability for those that are responsible for the disaster and poor response and gives victims a financial motive to blame big oil. No joke. Wiener, apparently undeterred by the ongoing issues in state management, has the audacity to link the wildfires directly to climate change, a phenomenon he attributes to oil companies. Absolutely catastrophic wildfires happening in the middle of winter, Wiener said. For insurance companies, they're going to have to, if this bill passes, they're going to have to take a very hard look at seeking compensation from oil companies. You know, one thing that you could do, cut them off. Oil companies, you could cut California off. Say, you're going to sue us? Well, we're just not going to do business with you anymore. So now you can't blame us. It goes away. If you want to get down on the ground, get down on the ground. Pull those, oh God, what is that song? Get down, pull those panties down. Thank you, Lesko. I appreciate you right there. That's for you, brother. Appreciate you. If you want to get down on the ground. Oh yeah. How stupid can you be? Here, hold my beer. Yes. Let's blame the oil companies. You sure we can sue the church for acts of God when natural events destroy our home? Like, why didn't the church pray for hurricanes to stop? Pay up, pastors. Pay up. On $1,000 a month, Social Security, I've been able to save enough to pay most of my bills for 7 months. Why can't others slim down hard before disaster hits when it's your only income? Exactly. I take this back to, geez, when was it? The 90s, like the late 90s. I went because I had really bad eyesight. When I say bad eyesight, I'm talking about my glasses were thick. I had been wearing glasses in 2nd grade. These right here, they just block out some of the blue light. That's it. That's all they do. They don't help the vision at all, except for blocking out blue light. Now, as I've gotten older, my eyesight's deteriorated a little bit. But that being said, I was working as a pizza delivery driver. Get this, working as a pizza delivery driver. I had broken a pair of glasses and I was getting ready to go in and get contact lenses. All right. Now, if you know anything about contact lenses, if you ever worn them, that it gets expensive because you pay for these contact lenses and you have to constantly go in, have eye exams, which cost money. Plus you have to pay for the prescription. It's just like this ongoing revolving amount of money. So instead of freaking out over this and knowing that I wasn't making a whole lot of money at the time, I mean, I was making enough to pay bills. What I did is for 6 months straight, because of the place I worked, I could get, free food. So I had plenty of pizza and ramen noodles for dinner for 6 months. I spent maybe in the total of 6 months, outside of my rent and my bills, maybe $20 in 6 months. The rest of it, I stashed away, I saved up, and whenever the time came and I had the money saved up, I went and got my eyes LASIKed. So I had clear vision. I haven't had to pay for another pair of sunglasses or pair of glasses. I buy sunglasses now if I'm buying glasses, but haven't had to pay for anything since then. And it taught me a really valuable lesson about how far you can cut things back if you need to. You can live off of ramen noodles and, a little bit of, meat to add to those. You could be just fine. I could have gone probably another 2 years living that same way off of bare minimum. If you need to, you can cut your spending. Now, while most of my friends were out spending money on, buying McDonald's for their meals, which is not really healthy, like every meal they would be eating fast food, spending, I don't know, at the time it was like $5 to $10 a meal. I could pick up a pound of steak for, $3 or $4, and that steak I could freeze part of it and have meat in, and buy some, some broccoli if I wanted to have vegetables. I slimmed everything down. All of my spending went away, and I smoked at the time too. I was a smoker at the time, so I was buying cigarettes. And since then, I've quit smoking. Now I vape. I drink a little more than I used to. That's why. Well, not Monday, but next month will be dry for me. I wanted to cut back on the drinking, so I went from December, where I felt that I was drinking a little too much, talked with my wife and said, I just need to cut back. I need to cut back on the alcohol, get a little bit healthier, get back on a more regular exercise routine, to this past month, just drinking on the weekends. except for, if there was something that we were celebrating, my wife and I were. So weekends, pretty much every weekend, I would have something to drink. And then, of course, in February, I'm going full dry, which means I'm not going to have any alcohol, which means I don't have to spend any money on alcohol. And I've got stuff stashed away for March, because my wife's birthday is in March, of course. So we'll be celebrating her birthday. And then, of course, I want to be, I want to get it back to where maybe just on the weekends and maybe every so often I have a drink. But it was getting a little bit too much for me. There's nothing wrong with drinking. I don't condone getting trashed and becoming a violent person. So I don't get violent whenever I drink. I just get sleepy. I want to pass out, which I hate doing that. So you just find things that you do that are much better. But back to the story. So for weeks, we've been uncovering the gross mismanagement and the corruption that not only caused but exasperated the wildfire disaster, from reckless environmental policies to fire department budget cuts and resources wasted on diversity, equity, inclusion initiatives instead of preparedness. The pattern became clear. As usual, Democrats refused to take responsibility, even though it was their failures that left the reservoirs empty, leaving firefighters to battle flames with no water. Now, Donald Trump had been warning about California's disastrous forest mismanagement for years, but California politicians refused to listen, and now those consequences are undeniable. Republican State Senator Roger Nealio called out this proposal for what it truly is. It's a diversion tactic. It will be an invitation for lawsuits, and this furthers the narrative, the false narrative, that this is all about climate change. It is, of course, much more complicated than that. Catherine Reyes-Boyd, CEO of Western States Petroleum Association, did not mince words. The announcement of today's proposal is the latest installment of an ongoing effort to scapegoat our industry and the thousands of hard workers, of hardworking women and men who keep California running, she said. As California begins its latest cycle of rebuilding in response to the ever-growing wildfire disasters, one must wonder, will oil companies be forced to shoulder the cost of the failures of Democrat policies? If Democrats get their way, well, they just might. At the end of the day, this legislative proposal is a shameful effort by California leftists to deflect blame from their failures onto one of their favorite targets. They hope that financially incentivizing victims to sue oil companies will make them forget that it was a failure of Democrat leadership from a top down in California that created the situation and made it so much worse. Cynthia with the 5 gifted memberships. Well, thank you very much, Cynthia Noller. That is wonderful of you to do that. And I mean, I'm just amazed by you guys' graciousness. Gratitude is abound for all of you fine folks. That one right there is for you. Ah, yes. Get a little bit in there. Get a little bit in there. Thank you so much. It's always appreciated. But, oh, that's a vice. What, drinking? Yeah, that could be a vice. I don't look at drinking as a vice. Some people do have serious problems. I thought that my drinking was getting a little bit out of hand. Thought it was getting there where I was like, maybe I just need to cut it back just a little bit. And school choice. Now, just so you guys know, tomorrow, which I'm sure you already know this, but tomorrow we're going to have the wonderful Mo on here, and she will be joining us. It'll be a little bit later stream tomorrow. We'll be starting it up at 8 o'clock in the morning instead of the regular 7. But I'm looking forward to it because Mo is one of my favorite peoples in the YouTube, and I love streaming with her. She puts joy in my heart and a smile on my face, and we constantly get derailed. We never talk about what we planned on talking about. We just go off on some wild tangent. I'm sure that there will be more talk of rats and something. It'll be crazy. Yes. Mo is good people. I've enjoyed my time with her so much. But what we have is school choice for everyone, Trump's latest round of executive orders. And those executive orders just keep rolling in. Yeah, has a boatload of children to take care of. She does. Donald Trump is signing executive orders faster than Joe Biden pardoned his family members. And so on Wednesday afternoon, he sets his sights on education. While the president's goals are lofty, they could be huge for American children. The expanding educational freedom and opportunity for families executive order is all about working to ensure every child in this country has access to school choice, something several states already focused on. It gives the Secretary of Education 60 days to issue guidance regarding how states can use federal formula funds to support K through 12 educational choice initiatives. The president claims that all parents should have a say in how their children are raised, including how they're educated. The EO states parents want and deserve the best education for their children, but too many children do not thrive in their assigned government-run K through 12 school. According to this year's National Assessment of Educational Progress, the NAEP, 70% of 8th graders were below proficient in reading. That's pretty bad. 72% were below proficiency in math. Moreover, geographically based school assignments I'm not going to get that word today. The cost of housing in districts with preferred schools, straining the finances of millions of American families sacrificing for the children's future. When our public education system fails at such a large segment of society, it hinders our national competitiveness and devastates families and communities. For this reason, more than a dozen states have enacted universal K through 12 scholarship programs, allowing families rather than the government to choose the best educational setting for their children. These states have highlighted the most promising avenue for education reform: educational choices for families and competition for residentially assigned government-run public schools. The growing body of rigorous research demonstrates the well-designed education freedom programs improve student achievement and cause nearby public schools to improve their performance. Now, I want to say that this really does mean quite a bit to me. I went to a private school for a period of time up until, what was it, 7th grade. 7th and 8th grade, I was put into the public school system and failed almost miserably at it. Not because I'm that dumb. It was because there was too many distractions, too much fighting in the school. I could never get a good focus on school. Also, the things that I had to take and study did not garner any interest for me. The interest that I had got quashed out by the things that were less important. And it was still one of the better school systems, where I wanted to excel more in science. They put me in a class that was failing. I mean, if there would have been an opportunity to take that money that would have been coming in and put me, some sort of voucher to put me back into the private school that I was in, I probably would have done really well, which would have been fine by me. My nephew, which he's down in Florida, 2 nephews down there, they were both in the school system in Florida, and the way that their system is set up is they had the opportunity to be part of whatever school they wanted to be part of in that area. Let's put it this way: they had close to 500 students that graduated high school that year. That was almost their entire senior class. And he was number 3 in his class, as far as, when you have the valedictorian and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, he missed it by a short bit, and he wasn't even trying hard. He succeeded there. It was a school that he wanted to go to because one of his friends went to that school or was going to go to that school. So it gave him the opportunity to choose to go to that school. It was a little bit of a difficulty as far as getting there because it was a little bit, he would have to walk to get to the bus stop, which was, probably about a mile or two away until he got his driver's license and was able to drive himself back and forth to school. But he succeeded very well and grew, and now he's going to university. Same as his brother. His brothers went to a completely different school in that same district and did really well, and one of them got a scholarship. The youngest got a scholarship. The older one, he has a job, and so he pays for a lot of his college. And one wants to be a vet, and the other one wants to be a what is it? I'm trying to think. What a data programmer? Yeah, that thing. That's what he wants to do, and he's been studying very hard on it. Actually, is a teacher's assistant or PA or multiple things like that to help defer some of those costs. The smart kids. But if they would have tried doing that here in Georgia, in certain areas, they would have been let down. They wouldn't have been able to prosper. So, like I said, this hits pretty hard. I've seen students that have basically a third grade education graduating from high school. And there's always this wonder of how did you make it this far without being able to actually read or write your own name. In addition to giving parents and children educational freedom, the president's goals are to expand opportunities for working in low-income families, military families, and families with children who are eligible for the Bureau of Indian Education, or BIE schools. Trump also signed another executive order protecting the nation's children, ending the radical indoctrination in K through 12 schooling. Essentially, it says that schools must teach topics like math and reading and not radical ideas like gender ideology and critical race theory. This one states parents trust American schools to provide their children with rigorous education and to instill a patriotic admiration for our incredible nation and the values for which we stand. In recent years, however, parents have witnessed schools indoctrinate their children in radical anti-American ideologies while deliberately blocking parental oversight. Such an environment operates as an echo chamber in which students are forced to accept these ideologies without question or critical examination. In many cases, innocent children are compelled to adopt identities as either victims or oppressors solely based on their skin color and other immutable characteristics. In other instances, young men and women are made to question whether they were born in the wrong body and whether to view their parents and their reality as enemies to be blamed. These practices not only erode critical thinking, but also sow division, confusion, and distrust, which undermine the very foundations of personal identity and family unity. Imprinting anti-American, subversive, harmful, and false ideologies in our nation's children not only violates long-standing anti-discrimination civil rights laws in many cases, but usurps the basic parental authority. For example, steering students towards surgical and chemical mutilation without parental consent or involvement, or allowing males access to private spaces designed for females may be contravene federal laws that protect parental rights, including the Family Educational Rights, the Privacy Act, and the Protection of Pupil Rights Amendment, and sex-based equality and opportunity, including Title IX of the Education Amendments of 1972. Similarly, demanding acquiescence to white privilege or unconscious bias actually promotes racial discrimination, undermines national unity. What is it? It is. Oh, interesting. Like I said, this is huge for the American educational system. I'm sure there will be plenty of blowback, but hopefully common sense will prevail at the end of every child in this country will have access to the quality of education of their family's choosing. Most children can't even tell you the name of all states. You know, we need to get back to that. We need to get back to the simple part of education early on. I mean, it would behoove us to have these kinds of things and make our country and put us in a good position. I don't see it happening in the next 4 years. This is a step in that right direction. I think that once people start seeing how that right there is working. Whenever they start seeing that those policies are working, that their children start thriving, and when those children start seeing that those things are thriving, and the credit is being given to a very, very pro-American ideal, I think that it's going to change your political landscape, where you don't have two parties battling it out to see who's going to be getting the spoils of whatever war that they want to fight. That you're going to see a lot less political discourse and people more in agreement. Thing is a lot of people tend to fight over things that they don't need to fight over. I mean, all you have to do is watch Congress and you'll see exactly the kind of infighting that goes on. And most of it is just for show. Most of these folks are LARPing over this kind of stuff. And they've been doing it for quite some time. I don't know what created most of that division. I mean, there's times whenever you had a former president, Biden, so saying some pretty vile racist things on the floor as they were trying to confirm people. Some of the horrible things that the Democrats have done, some of the horrible things that Republicans have done. I mean, you want to talk about the Patriot Act. Do you think that was all Democrats right there? No, that was Republicans that created this thing. All of it should be called out. All of it should be stomped out. Bad policy doesn't mean that, it was that these people were perfect or great. It means they made bad policies along the way. And history doesn't look too well on them. And that's the same thing that we saw during the first pandemic. It wasn't the very first one, but it was one that was enough to get people's attention. And I think there was a lot of waking up that happened because of that. And I would hope that we keep that kind of look on the American people and keep them in line. That is the hope and the goal, to make sure that our politicians are working for us and covering what we ask them to take care of, and get the hell out of our lives and let us make our lives much better. And speaking of making your life much better, everybody go give Mo a little bit of love. I will see you guys tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. I should have a stream tonight. Most likely I will have the wonderful Volstorm on, and it won't be very long because from what I can tell, this particular filing, this particular deposition is very short. The deposition only took 10 minutes. So we'll have some more stuff beside that, but that'll probably be early on in the stream. So if you're coming by tomorrow, 10 o'clock tonight, we should have a much quick read through of that. I don't think it'll take us very long, but be ready for the Reverend Randy Shockett to show up, better known as Volstorm. We'll be looking forward to it. Everybody go give Mo a little bit of love. Throw a little bit of bacon there at Mo. She needs some bacon. Peace, y'all. Have a good night. Bless your heart.
I thought I was the only mentally challenged one here.
feeling fine. News is out and on the air. Shizzy Whiz nuts wild, but we don't care. Morning Whiz and Coffee. Talk the news, he's a tease. Laugh it off, we're on the go. Shizzy Whiz nuts, start the show. Let's go. Get it, yeah, oh yeah. Headlines spinning in the breeze. Stupid jokes, he's such a tease. Sip the Java, wear a smile. Pants are off, but stay a while. Morning Whiz and Coffee. Talk the news, he's a tease. Laugh it off, we're on the go. Shizzy Whiz, let's start the show. Let's go. Get it, yeah, oh yeah. Headlines spinning in the breeze. Stupid jokes, he's such a tease. Sip the Java, wear a smile. Pants are off, but stay a while. Morning Whiz and Coffee. Talk the news, he's a tease. Laugh it off, we're on the go. Shizzy Whiz, let's start the show. Let's go. Get it, yeah, oh yeah. Serious is overrated. Every day we're caffeinated. Talk the town, but in a jest. Morning Whiz is always best. Ticking, time to run. Morning show's a load of fun. Grab your mug, don't spill a drop. Laugh your ass off till you pop. Clock is ticking, time to run. Morning show's a load of fun. Grab your mug, don't spill a drop. Laugh your ass off till you pop.
Oh my God. Shizzy breaks Larry. Shizzy broke Larry.
Tonight at 10.